I want to bring up right now Butch Graves, who is the CEO of Black Enterprise. Y'all have heard me on this show talking about the lack of advertising dollars and things along those lines. And I dare say one of the reasons why we're having to deal with what Buster said is because last year, and matter of fact, we're going to take this thing even before, I was talking to Congressional Black Caucus members in September and October of 2019. And I was telling them, y'all, this COVID thing is coming down the pipeline. We got to make sure that our people, that the dollars are going so we can talk to our community, help our community. Kept saying it over and over and over again. Well, and I said, don't wait for these contracts. What's going to happen? Well, guess what happened? We went into 2020. We saw exactly what happened. I'm sorry, I said this conversation 2020. My apologies. And then so we go into 2021, these things happening. And so here we are. We are now in the midst of fighting a massive disinformation campaign. And part of that is because the advertising agencies that were in control of the hundreds of millions of dollars that went out to people, those dollars have not flown to black-owned media. Butch Graves, CEO of Black Enterprise, they published a story last week detailing what they call the failure of the Biden administration to confront this issue. And Butch, again, I fundamentally believe that had we been fully respected and had folks come to us early on, we could have been able to do a much broader outreach, to talk to folks and drive the messaging home so our people understood all the intricacies of this problem. And so when we get frozen out and the money goes to Black Targeted Media and it goes to Complex and it goes to BET, then it goes to iHeartRadio and it goes to Viacom CBS and it goes to CNN and it goes to MSNBC, all these other companies, and then they come back and go, oh, black people have low vaccination rates, and we're sitting there going, we tried to tell your asses that.
Yeah, Roland, it was actually interesting to listen to your three previous guests, the doctors, on the show, because what they're giving and articulating is the scientific reasons of why COVID-19 is so important and was so important for Black people to take. Quite honestly, it would have been different if from the very beginning of this process, the Biden administration had done what they said they were going to do, which is to make sure that the information itself was disseminated in a fair and practical manner, and knowing that African Americans are disproportionately receiving poor health care and the most at risk, that's what should have been focused on. Instead, what happened is the money got, through a whole bunch of other nonsense that took place, goes into a general contracting place where a general market agency distributes the money and distributes the money to the people that they have relationships with, not Black-owned media, who reaches the most Black people. And therefore, what are people getting educated by? They're getting educated by what you just articulated a moment ago. If the spokespeople for health care for Black people in this country end up being Busta Rhymes, we're in a world of hurt. We're in a world of trouble. And that's what's taking place. People are getting their information from barbershops, beauty salons, and celebrities who have no degree in science and oftentimes are ill-informed on everything having to do with this. This is a process that can be solved quickly. This can be done simply by making the investment. And it almost gives you the impression that it's purposeful, as if we don't want the information to get it, because there is no other reason for it not to happen. I don't get what has transpired. We understand what locked out means. But this is a case, quite honestly, where the Biden administration in particular, that was put into office because of Black people, on the backs of Black people, have not stood up and said, we're going to step in and fix this and make sure that the next X number of months we are crowding the Black airwaves with please take the vaccine. All right? I've got friends and or family who suffered through COVID-19. I've had friends who didn't take the vaccine and unfortunately met an untimely death. And I've had friends who've taken the vaccine and caught it after the fact and have been able to recover, but at least had a chance to recover. If you never took the vaccine and you got this latest strand and show up at the hospital, you might as well be calling your local funeral home at the same time. There is no coming back from this. It is that serious, and somehow or another, it's still not being taken serious. We've got to get the attention of the Biden administration immediately and say, this cannot continue to go on.
Have you heard from anyone with the administration since y'all published your piece?
No, have not heard from anyone prior to. We heard that they were going to quote before this, they were going to put this out as you had, that they were going to, in fact, make sure that Black-owned media was an important part of what they were going to do. Not heard from someone beforehand, not heard from anybody since that time, and quite honestly, at this point, it is literally irresponsible what the Biden administration is doing, because what they're basically doing is trying to take their head and bury it in the sand and pretend. They're spending more time worrying about the Afghan refugees, which is a problem. And no one's saying you should be worried about that, rather than their own people in this country, Black, who are literally dying by the thousands by the day because they don't have the information, the necessary information on taking the vaccine and what it means to be educated on COVID-19.
And the thing here is, and I walked some folks through this. First of all, I had a conversation with a consultant, a Black consultant who was hired by Forrest Marsh, the advertising agency that represents the Department of Health and Human Services, the CDC, and others. And we were told point blank that by the time we submitted our proposal in April, nearly all of the money had already been spent. Now, I found that to be interesting because we were not told that when we submitted the proposal. And then we were told that they did what they call spray and pray. And they just spread the money around and prayed it worked. And said to us, we now have to have a targeted approach. Why is that laughable, Butch? Because the proposal that we submitted was a targeted approach. And so that's the games that are being played. And here's the deal. I got no problem with saying it. I met with the Biden administration in the first 60 days and said this is going to be a problem. Made it perfectly clear to Susan Rice, to Cedric Richmond, and others. I spoke directly to them and said this advertising issue was going to be a problem. Give us a shot. We're going to get this fixed. We are now in August, and it hasn't been fixed. And people keep coming up to me, oh man, why you keep begging for money, talking about the whole deal? Because it's simple. The money's being spent, but it ain't going to our people. And you see the numbers, we are the ones who are disproportionately affected more than anybody else in this country.
Well, I'm offended by the fact that someone would say to you that you're begging. You're not begging for anything. These are taxpayers' dollars, of which we're taxpayers. We deserve to get a commensurate amount of the budget that is being spent on advertising that is directed to us. That is not a gift. That's not you begging. That's getting what we deserve. And frankly, we deserve a lot more. But that's not what's taking place. They have taken their head and put it in the sand. And by the way, this is not about just COVID-19, right, Roland, as we've talked about before. This is about all of their government contracts where they're advertising and going out to the general market and the Black market at the same time. What happens is that I don't care if it's a U.S. Army commercial, if it's an Armed Forces commercial, if it's the Census Bureau, you name it. Go right on down the line. It goes all the way back. This goes back more than 20 years. In the year 2000, in October, Clinton signed an executive order mandating that black-owned media had to participate at a fair level with general market media as relates to government contracts. In that 20 years since that time, it has not been enforced. It didn't matter if it was a Republican administration, a Democratic administration, whomever it was. It has never happened. Why? How is it possible you get away with it? You get away with it because no one is stepping up and saying, I care. You met with them in the first 60 days and they've ignored you? They've ignored, and you told them what needed to happen and they've ignored that? It's almost as if they've forgotten who put them in office in the first place. So I'm through. My patience is zero with listening to just give us the time. Time's up. Now step up and do the right thing. Do what you're supposed to be doing and help us to educate African Americans on the need for vaccine and what must be done so we can solve this problem together.
Butch Graves, CEO, Black Enterprise. We appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Appreciate it.
Back to that Roland Martin Unfiltered video in just one moment.
All right, folks, if you want to, get a couple of the products of Seek.com, black-owned company founded by Mary Spio. They have these amazing 360-degree headphones, tremendous sound. The bass is incredible. And so they also have their virtual reality headsets. You place your phone into it. You can see the VR content at Seek.com, Seek.com, or you can watch 360-degree videos. All you got to do is go to Seek.com, use the promo code RMVIP21, RMVIP21, where you can actually get those products. And then when you purchase one of them, or both, those portion of the proceeds comes back to us here at Roland Martin Unfiltered. So we certainly thank Mary Spio and Seek for being a partner with us here at Roland Martin Unfiltered.